and welcome to another Wednesday night of News with the Extra Touch. Tonight, it is truly extra as we open from the nation's powerhouse with the approval of the 2021 to 2023 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy Paper. Of course, the National Assembly is back in full gear with plenaries and critical decisions. Also tonight, there is much on the judiciary, crime and lawmaking. You know, Nigerians are known to be each other's keepers. So tonight we bring out that spirit in some of our reports. The global coronavirus pandemic is still ravaging. We will also be with it in our bulletins, and News Extra is no exception. Food security is critical. With the COVID-19 effect on agriculture, there is hope for food sufficiency, though. Wait for the stories. On a sad note, however, Nigeria just lost a gem. I'm sure you have an insight on who that is. She defended Nigeria against bandits, kidnappers, and other criminals to the end. These and more, but let's go to the stories. After all, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Umar Buba, and this is News Extra. You're always welcome. The Federal Executive Council has approved the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy Paper for 2021 to 2023. The document projects 12.66 trillion naira as budget size for the 2021 fiscal year. Minister of State for Finance, Budget and National Planning announced this while briefing newsmen after the council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, and State House correspondent Adam Samba reports on this and other decisions taken at the meeting.
The virtual meeting, which lasted more than 8 hours, considered and approved various memoranda submitted by ministers as part of efforts to take Nigeria to the next level. One of those approved is the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy Paper designed to guide Nigeria's socio-economic development objectives and priorities for the next 3 years. Minister of State for Finance, Budget and National Planning, Clement Agba, reaffirmed government's commitment towards sustaining the January to December budget cycle restored by the Buhari presidency.
And the assumptions that we made are based on these following parameters. Oil price benchmark of $40 per barrel, oil production at 1.86 million barrels per day, an exchange rate regime of 360 naira per dollar. Inflation we projected for 11.95%, and projected GDP growth rate for 2021 at 3%. Going by this MTF FSP, it is projected that in 2021 might have a budget size of about 12.66 trillion, and this will also trend in 2022 and 2023.
The Federal Executive Council also approved a new national policy on solid waste management, providing the desired framework for a comprehensive and integrated environmental management in the country.
With this, we will have a lot of jobs being created from the recycling plant that we are building. Very soon, you will see probably state competing to get waste from different sources, because it's no longer a menace if managed properly, but rather a resource that can create employment, can create wealth, and so many other things, and provide good livelihood and good quality environment.
During the meeting, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, took her turn to give account of her stewardship to the Council.
One of our really key achievements is the fact that we've been able to carry out interventions timely and promptly. Interventions in areas of either disasters when they occur, we respond immediately, or even interventions in the areas of the palliatives that we have distributed during the COVID-19 lockdown. I'm happy to inform you that we've been able to take all these interventions to the affected state. We have also been able to carry out the directives by Mr. President in the area of the JIP moratorium. We have also expanded the National Social Register by 1 million. We have also been able to deploy the grains from the strategic grains reserves to the first lockdown states by the federal government and other frontline states.
A similar presentation of Manda report was also made by the Ministry of Education.
The position of the Honorable Minister, as communicated to you last week, remains the position of the Ministry. We are not confident yet that everywhere is safe. The numbers from NCDC are still very alarming, and we had put this in front of parents and all the stakeholders in the Ministry, in the education ecosystem. We are still meeting with them. In fact, there's a stakeholder meeting convened for Monday. WAEC, on its own part, is also negotiating with other West African countries to look at possible shifts in dates. Once they are through with that meeting, and hopefully when we're through with the consultations with the stakeholders, if there's any change in the ministry's position, we'll communicate.
The Federal Executive Council meeting, 17th in its series for this year, also approved 136 million naira for the procurement, installation and commissioning of theatre seats and computers for the auditorium of the University of Benin. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Job hunting in Nigeria is faced with a complex web of challenges ranging from non-availability of openings to job racketeering. But most worrisome is that those qualified are sometimes denied by age limitation, a hurdle the Senate is trying to dismantle. And National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unko reports that the legislators are calling on the federal government to abolish age limitation as a criteria in recruitment.
Rising from a closed-door session that lasted 1 hour 30 minutes, the Senate addressed the issue of job seeking and inherent challenges in Nigeria. A motion by Senator Ibrahim Gobir called on the federal government to direct the Ministry of Labor and Employment to set up modalities to review the practice of age bracket in recruitment.
You find that somebody will finish his university at the age of 25. He will finish the NYSC and then he will be now 26. Then it will take him 10 to 15 years to get employment. But at the time of seeing future for getting employment, all of a sudden again, they will tell him that he is over age. For example, if the age limit is 23, we must now add the 13 or 14 years of embargo on employment to the age already earmarked for employment.
This is a very good motion, and urging the Federal Ministry of Labor and Productivity to swing into action immediately.
The National Transport Commission Establishment Bill, which was passed by the 8th National Assembly but not assented to, has been passed with observations of the President considered. While the bills for the establishment of 3 higher institutions were also passed, these include the City University of Technology, Auchi, Edo State, Nigerian Maritime University, Okore-Konko, Delta State, and the Federal College of Education, Jiwa, Kaduna State.
As an independent multimodal economic regulatory authority for the regulation of transport industry sector,
upgrading the Federal College of Federal Polytechnic Auchi to City University of Technology Auchi will particularly facilitate more access to quality and higher technical education. 5 bills passed first reading. These include the Donkey Export and Killing Prohibition Bill and the Nigerian Hunters Group Establishment Bill. Senate has adjourned to Tuesday, the 21st of July 2020. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Unko, NTA News.
And this may not be the best of times for the Niger Delta Development Commission. Allegations directed at the way and manner its finances were managed have caused both the executive and the legislature to institute investigations on activities of the commission. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the House of Representatives has commenced an investigative hearing on the NDDC.
It's now 20 years since the establishment of the Niger Delta Development Commission, meant to bring a new lease of life to the people of the Niger Delta region. What is the state of the financial record of the Commission in the discharge of its mandate? This, among other things, is what the House of Representatives investigative hearing wants to make public. The opening statements of the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, paints a sad picture, with allegations of financial malfeasance which have robbed people of the region, leaving them with what he calls broken dreams.
In the over 2 decades since, that promise has not been kept. Despite its critical importance and the vast sums that have been appropriated by the federal government, the Niger Delta of Nigeria continues to score exceptionally low on many of the major human development indices.
This investigative hearing, he added, is to find out reasons and those responsible for the failure. Chairman of the House Committee on NDDC, Representative Olubunmi Ojo, was emphatic that the roles played by other agencies of government in relation to their official duties with the NDDC will be unraveled.
The forensic audit ordered by Mr. President in NDDC must have been premised on these critical questions. Perhaps the unremitting cry of the people in the region and the need to see maximum value for successive allocations.
The Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Central Bank of Nigeria, Office of the Auditor General, and the Bureau for Public Procurement were at the hearing.
NNDC is one of the statutory bodies that also enjoys first-line charge, just like the National Assembly.
Sometimes they could even get funds from gifts, donations. So, of course, the primary source of funds is the budget.
NDDC management is expected Thursday, as it had earlier communicated to the committee its inability to attend due to its participation at this week's Federal Executive Council meeting. In another development, movement against rape and sexual violence led by the wife of the Kaduna State Governor, Aisha El-Rufai, during a visit to the Speaker, solicited the support of the National Assembly in its campaign. The movement wants state assemblies in the country to adopt laws that address these issues. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And away from the National Assembly now, corruption is now being fought on a lot of fronts hitherto ignored. One of such in Oyo State is the tracking of constituency projects, and correspondent Kemi Oshin reports that the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission led a team to the rural areas of this investigation.
The approval of execution of social amenities in rural areas of the Federation as constituency projects was part of federal government's plan to ensure that rural dwellers have access to basic amenities and a sense of belonging in a democratic system. This time, it is the provision of boreholes for potable water. From one area to the other, the constituency project has spread across Oyo North Federal Constituency, with the people of these areas expressing their impressions.
For now, it's leaking. Though about 2 months ago, the pipe burned there, but we replace it.
If we bring water small, it will stop. Then the community, we will make meeting. We will go buy another one.
This place is a mining area. They mine stone as mineral resources. When this project was done, everybody was happy. The water refused to pump as it pumps again.
In spite of the challenging terrains, the investigating team, even at odd hours, moved to interrogate necessary stakeholders towards having adequate information.
We have seen that none of these projects is really serving the purpose. The water especially the boreholes given to the people, are done with solar, and the solar pumps are not durable.
It's a problem of, variation. You see, poor value for money, extremely high. A project is supposed to cost about almost 10 million. What we have in terms of value is less than 3 million. Contracts were not properly, followed in terms of need identification.
One thing that was, however, constant is that the team frowned at the poor execution of the projects, as well as the unserious approaches of some contractors to federal government's commitments to better life for the rural dwellers. From Okeogun in Oyo North Federal Constituency, Kemioshi, NTA News.
In another development, the Federal High Court has sentenced a former executive director of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Captain Ezekiel Bala Agaba, to 7 years imprisonment for laundering 1.5 billion naira. Justice Ibrahim Buba, who gave the judgment, held that the prosecution, EFCC, was able to convince the court that the accused conspired with the former Director General to commit the offense. Abolore Ogbara reports.
Former Executive Director Captain Ezekiel Agaba was charged on a 7 counts by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for fraudulent conversion of 1.5 billion naira and criminal breach of trust while serving in NIMASA. The trial judge, Justice Ibrahim Buba, held that the EFCC was able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that Captain Agaba stole the money from NIMASA while serving as Maritime, Safety and Shipping Executive Director. In his judgment, Justice Buba sentenced him to 7 years in prison to run concurrently.
We have been able to prove the essential ingredient of the offense, as my lord had said today, and consequently the court agreed with us and convicted the defendant as charged.
The key points that the court relied on in reaching a conviction, we do not agree. We do not agree because we believe that we had sufficient ways we discredited those evidences. As I speak today, not one single naira, 1 naira or dollar was found in any account related to the convict, to the defendant.
The EFCC had in 2015 arraigned Captain Agaba alongside a former NIMASA Director General, Dr. Patrick Akpobulukemi, Ekene Unwakuche, and the chairman of Ndokwa Local Government Area, Delta State, Joan Amechi Governor, for alleged laundering of 2.6 billion naira. They pleaded not guilty, despite the no-case submission by Dr. Akpobulukemi and the subsequent discharge and acquittal, as well as the withdrawal of charges against Governor and Unwakuche. EFCC maintained an amended charge against Agaba, which the court held and led to the sentence. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court in Lagos also dismissed 40 counts bordering on alleged 34 billion naira fraud filed by the federal government against Global West Vessel Specialist Limited, a company linked to a former Niger Delta militant leader, Government Ekpemopolo, popularly known as Tompolo. In Lagos, Abolore Ogbara, NTA News.
Now, as a young person, what skills can you boast of to keep you going as the classrooms remain under lock and key? A wake up in that regard as the world marks this year's World Youth Skills Day. That is up ahead on News Extra. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying. 9 persons have been remanded by a panel of magistrates sitting in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, for cases of alleged sexual abuse and criminal conspiracy. They had been arraigned before the family court for various cases of rape committed this July, but 6 of them, who are minors, are granted consideration to be taken to the juvenile home. Abdul Wahid Bibiri reports that one of the cases is that of a 70-year-old man who is alleged to have raped a 9-year-old girl, destroying her hymen.
Among the 9 cases mentioned before the panel is the touching case of a 9-year-old Sofiyat Suleiman, who was sexually abused by a 70-year-old Sanya Ayodele. Her hymen, according to the medical report obtained from the Kwara State General Hospital has been broken.
The issue of rape cases and issues of defilement of minors is becoming very rampant, and it's something we should collectively speak with one voice to stand against.
My granddaughter told me that the accused man had sex with her and warned her not to tell anyone.
Also before the panel of the magistrate is the alleged unlawful sexual intercourse by two elderly persons with a 12-year-old girl, Bilikis Adiola, with medical report of another damaged hymen. 5 minors between 14 and 16 years are also alleged to have conspired to sexually abuse a 16-year-old girl, Fridaus Abdurrafiu. They pleaded guilty for the offense. This alleged affair of the 5 minors with Fridaus has resulted in pregnancy, according to the medical report tendered by the prosecutor to the panel. Head of the panel, Magistrate Mr. Lawa, ruled that the 5 parents of the alleged accused minors should take over the care of the victim pending when she is delivered, and a DNA test is carried out to determine the father of the yet unborn baby among the 5. Ruling on the matters has been fixed for July 29, 2020. Abdulwahid Bibire, NTA News.
In tackling the rising wave of sexual violence in Nigeria, will require breaking the culture of silence among rape victims and all concerned. This was highlighted during a webinar lecture organized by the Center for Black African Arts and Civilization to end sexual violence in Nigeria. Amaka Uwu reports.
Data has it that there has been a sporadic rise in rape incidents, with about 717 cases recorded in the last 6 months. To chart the way forward, the Center for Black African Arts and Civilization, CBAC, believes there is need to advance human rights through sensitization, as this will help victims seek and be served justice.
On the topic that is very contemporaneous, and then it's very worrisome to parents, to husbands, to wives, to children, to adults.
It is one of the least prosecuted crimes in the world. This unfortunate phenomenon has wreaked tremendous havoc on our society.
The need for paradigm shifts in the way victims of sexual assault and rape are harassed, blamed and shamed is critical in breaking the culture of silence. Professor of Sociology Fumi Bameke emphasized this and noted that it is the reason why 53% of rape cases are not reported in Nigeria. The professor captured this in her lecture titled Reflection on Culture of Silence and Rising Wave of Sexual Violence.
Silence must be broken, and it cannot be broken just by the victim alone. Everyone must, participate in these must take action to break these jinx and to ensure that we have a society that is safe for all girls, safe for all boys, and safe for everyone.
With about 40% prevalence of rape cases among women as against 0.022% among men, women are said to be endangered from cradle to grave. Participants advocate adequate funding for victims of rape, implementation of laws against perpetrators, and increased sexual education. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
And as the world continues to grapple with the coronavirus, the time for stock-taking on the impact of the pandemic on skills development and explore how young people can respond to the economic crisis is now. This is coming as the world celebrates Youth Skills Day. In this special report, Olainka Ojo examines the significance of this year's theme, which is Skills for a Resilient Youth in the Era of COVID-19 and Beyond.
Designated by the United Nations General Assembly in 2014, 15 July annually is observed as World Youth Skills Day to celebrate the importance of equipping young people with skills for decent employment and entrepreneurship.
We have male hairdressers, so we can also have female barbers. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having female barbers.
The heat press and the cutting plotter work hand in hand. After you take the material that you're finished writing on the cutting plotter, you peel it and take it to the heat press, where you can paste it on your t-shirts with the heat.
Statistics by the United Nations indicates that today there are more than 1.1 billion young people between 15 and 24 years, and they account for 16% of the global population. And because of their population, young people are almost 3 times more likely to be unemployed than adults.
Every organization, beyond employing, beyond creating wealth, should have a mini training center.
Today, due to COVID-19, more than 1 in 6 young people are out of work. Since this year's celebration, though virtual, is coming amid unprecedented global crisis, helping young people to be more resilient to changes caused by the current crisis and in the world of work in general, especially in sectors hardest hit by COVID-19, is necessary. It is estimated that 70% of the world's learners are affected by school closure across education levels currently, as this pandemic threatens the continuity of skills development.
Apart from maybe building of hubs, some of them can okay, for instance now, maybe if I have a younger brother that I know is being idle at home, instead of him sitting down at home while I hustle, I can actually tell him, okay, come with me to the office, learn 1 or 2.
The latest global employment trends for youth 2020, technology and the future of jobs show that since 2017, there has been an upward trend in the number of youth not in employment, education, or training. And in the face of these challenges, distance training has become the most common way of imparting skills.
Digital skills, which have become an advocate, that beyond the paper certificates that we have now, the youth need to have a level of digital skills and literacy, which is a hard-on.
As the global fight against COVID-19 continues, experts are of the opinion that achieving better socio-economic conditions for today's youths in terms of challenges of unemployment and underemployment is key. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
You said it all, Olainka. Now, to complement federal government's policies on agriculture, the Future Assured initiative of Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Buhari has empowered 150 irrigation farmers with pumping machines in Katsina State, preparatory to next year's dry season farming. Shehu Adamu reports that another set of 100 youths were given clippers to boost their selling businesses.
The beneficiaries were drawn from the 34 local government areas of Katsina State, presenting the items on behalf of Nigeria's First Lady. Katsina State Commissioner for Women Affairs Rabia Muhammad Daura said this is the 5th time the Future Assured program of Aisha Buhari is empowering entrepreneurs, including distribution of palliatives to the internally displaced persons and orphans in the state within the last 7 months. While assuring the continued commitment of Future Assured program towards improving the welfare of Nigerians, particularly women and children, Aisha Buhari urged the beneficiaries to make good use of the items to enhance food security in the country.
We have checked across the 34 LGAs. We make sure all the beneficiaries are doing the dry season farming.
The success and bedrock of every economy also relies on self-employment, small and medium-scale enterprises.
Chairperson of the Women Farmers Association in Katsina State, Hassu Lawal, commended the First Lady for the gesture and pledged to support federal government initiatives on agriculture to achieve the desired objectives.
We really appreciate your effort and your concern for our well-being and welfare.
Some of the beneficiaries said the irrigation pumping machines and the hair clippers donated to them will go a long way in empowering them economically.
We promised her that we are not going to sell it. We are very, very grateful. We are going to show her that as she is a good mother to us, we are going to be a good children to her.
I'm assuring everybody that this kind of gesture is going to be very effective to our family system.
Future Assured is an initiative of Aisha Buhari Foundation set up with the aim of advocating for the well-being of all. In Katsina, Shehu Adamu, NTA News.
We all know that COVID-19 has wreaked havoc in all aspects of life the world over. Many are now out of jobs. So it is heartwarming to note that in Kano, over 400 youths have been empowered by the National Directorate of Employment. That is after training them. Yahanasu Hassan Barrow reports that the icing on the cake is that the training is geared towards moving them from job seekers to job givers.
This group of youths have every reason to smile and clap as they bid farewell to unemployment. They are 50 out of the 440 youth trained by the National Directorate of Employment under the Micro Enterprises Enhancement Scheme of the federal government. They were trained on different vocational skills and received 10,000 naira each as a startup capital. Umar Ahmed and Sakina Abdullahi are among the youth who benefited from the scheme.
Into spices business. I know this will help me, inshallah.
Appreciate because it can help me about my business, that is bakery.
The intervention, which targeted 10 beneficiaries each from the 44 local government areas of the state, will no doubt contribute immensely to the economy of the nation when fully utilized.
They took part in our business training, and at the end of the day, we selected them, gave them all the necessary advice on how to start their businesses.
Having done that, will encourage the government to keep on increasing something of this nature, because the more the result is positive, the more the government is being encouraged.
Sakina and Ahmed say, though there are quite a number of people who are in the same trade with them, however, expressed confidence that with this training, they will have an edge over their counterparts. In Kano, Yahanasa Hassan Barrow, NTA News.
And from Kano, we'll take you to Sokoto, where a philanthropist, Umar, German Sokoto, has adopted 163 children, mostly orphaned by Boko Haram insurgency. The school he established for them in Sokoto is now serving as a citadel of learning for the orphans. In this report, Abdulrahman Usman Jibrila takes a look at the lives of the children 2 years after their transfer from troubled northeast of Nigeria to Sokoto.
These children were brought to Sokoto from northeastern states of Nigeria, ravaged by insurgency. 117 among them were from Borno State, 23 from Yobe State, while 23 who are also orphans were drawn from across 23 local government areas of Sokoto State. The philanthropist Alhaji Umar AA doesn't only provide shelter to the orphans, but also feeds and provide quality education to them. The 163 orphans comprising 116 boys and 47 girls. In this school, Jarma Yuki Academy, there are 17 conventional and 7 Islamic teachers, in addition to other supporting staff.
We brought them between the age of 6 and 8, and at the initial stage, the proprietor would like them to go through the primary school and secondary school. But at a later time, he also concluded arrangement financially to take care of these children until each and one of them graduate from a university.
The children are taught various subjects and carefully groomed to memorize the Holy Quran, and they are also engaged in extracurricular activities.
We are here in UK German School. They are teaching us very well.
Even their education is fine and they are feeling comfortable.
Feeding program in the school is superb. The children are given balanced diet. The Jarma Yuki Academy, located at the residence of Umar Nkobo AA in Sokoto Metropolis, gives the children the opportunity to observe 5 daily prayers and even Friday prayer in congregation.
Some of them, they grow up but they not even attend school. And also the problem that we face again among their language, because they speak Kanu.
These orphans are also trained in various vocational trades with a view to making them self-reliant.
When it comes to entrepreneur, he has agreed and volunteered to give all that we need for these children to have skills that even after their university, they will have, one skill or two.
The children are in high spirits and indeed free from the trauma of losing their parents at tender age. In Sokoto, Abraham Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
Such a cheering one, all the way from Sokoto. 1,000 Nigerians are on their way to becoming millionaires, courtesy Dangote Cement PLC. Management of the company unveiled plans in Lagos during a formal presentation of the second edition of its national consumer promotion tagged Dangote Bag of Goodies Season 2. Adeola Kami Akiri reports.
Dangote Cement PLC has continued to open new capacities to serve Africa's rapidly growing demand for cement, as well as empower its consumers by adding value to their economic well-being. For Nigerians who are looking forward to freedom from the pangs of poverty, the Dangote Cement Bag of Goodies promo might just be a unique opportunity to improve their lot. This second edition aims at providing new and existing customers with palliatives to start small businesses in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic that has cost many their sources of livelihood.
Maybe the most famous brand definitely over Africa in cement, definitely most famous brand in Nigeria, was most famous because of the quality of the product, because of the product range, and definitely addressing Nigerian needs.
Organizers say 9 millionaires will emerge on a daily basis and a total of 1,000 in the next 16 weeks, beginning from July 15, 2020.
Buy Dangote Cement, and inside the Dangote Cement there is a card, okay, like a scratch card. So they scratched it, and then they have two things there. On the front, they will see a letter from A to Z. At the back, they scratch, and they will see an instant win. Keep it to form the name Dangote, and once you form the name Dangote, you are an instant millionaire.
We have tricycles, we have motorbikes, we have a box of goodies, which is the food pack, and we also have televisions, we have fridges, a lot to be won. So we are changing lives.
The Dangote Bag of Goodies promo, Season 2, is open to all consumers with prizes redeemable at the company's depots, regional offices, and selected wholesale outlets across Nigeria. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakere, NTA News.
They're saying that water everywhere, but none to drink. That has been the lot of the people of Boku in Benue State for a long time. Efforts were made long ago to remedy this, but the efforts came to naught. But hope is rising again as the long-abandoned and vandalized 9,000 cubic meters Ameladu waterworks in the area is to be revitalized by the state government. Governor Samuel Otom, who himself grew up in the ancient town, visited the site towards the revitalization. Charles Abba reports.
This is the Ameladu Waterworks in Boko local government area, which has a capacity of 9,000 cubic meters and capable of serving the community and its environs. Governor Samuel Otom, who was disgusted by the deplorable state of the project, indicated that the waterworks was established in 1993 by the Babangida regime and handed over to Benue State, but it suffered vandalism in 2008. He noted that resuscitating the project would require huge funds, hence the state government would work together with the federal government and development partners to rehabilitate it.
This is a necessary project that has to be given attention because it is meant to support the water needs of our people here in Boko and its environs.
It's not only the plant that is out of order. The pipeline system also needs a lot of work to be done on it because the pipeline was, the composition is asbestos concrete and they were busting all the time. So it's a lot of work to be done to fix it. Asbestos concrete is not the best material to be used in today's age, and also it was in a poor state. even when it was being used.
Some indigents of Boko bear their minds on the project.
When the people of Boko are feeling the impact of the absence of Ameladu Waterworks. One, the population of Boko has increased, and that means demand on some of those facilities. And so people have resorted to digging boreholes, drinking water from hand-dug wells, and yes, it has not been easy.
The governor also assessed other ongoing projects like road construction and the building of the Tortue Palace in Boko Town, where he expressed satisfaction over the quality of work done by the contractors.
I have made adequate arrangements to ensure that funding is no longer a problem with the completion of this job. So we're looking forward that before the end of this year, the palace would have been fully completed.
He, however, tasked them to intensify efforts at completing the projects within the specified period. Charles Abba, NTA News.
How is the new normal being achieved in the correctional centers? Our next segment brings us up to speed with trending stories on COVID-19, with more supplies aimed at curtailing its spread and management coming from the country's well-wishers. Find out who is giving what this time around after this time out. Welcome back to News Extra. Restrictions are being reimposed in many countries around the world due to the rising cases of coronavirus and positive results from a United States firm as vaccine trials set to enter final stage. Let's join Joyce Ometu for a global update on the pandemic.
160,000 people in the Spanish region of Catalonia returned to lockdown Wednesday as authorities struggle to control a fresh surge of coronavirus infections in the area. With more than 28,000 deaths from the pandemic, Spain's government ended a nationwide lockdown on June 21. But since then, cases continue to rise, prompting authorities to impose restrictions. Similarly, Hong Kong on Wednesday reinstated restriction measures as the Asian city battles a resurgence of the virus. Mask wearing has been made compulsory on public transport and public gatherings once again restricted to 4 people. And India has joined other countries across the globe in reimposing localized lockdowns. Records show that daily infections have been more than 28,000 for the past 3 days. Now a positive news as researchers in the United States say that the first vaccine tested in the country had worked to boost patients' immune systems and is set for final testing. The vaccine developed by the U.S. pharmaceutical company Moderna is expected to begin the last stage of its trials later this month. Statistics by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. indicates that 13,549,349 people globally have been diagnosed with COVID-19, while nearly 8 million have recovered and 583,415 have died. Out of these numbers, Africa records 630,528 cases, 13,820 deaths, while 318,570 persons have recovered. Nigeria currently has 33,616 confirmed cases, 754 deaths, and 13,792 patients recovered. And that's a global update on COVID-19. Many thanks for watching. I am Joyce Umetu.
In the meantime, health experts in the diaspora, under the aegis of Nigerian Association of Pharmacists and Pharmaceutical Scientists in the Americas, have urged the federal government to leverage on the coronavirus pandemic to ramp up indigenous production of medical and pharmaceutical products. This was what handing over critical diagnostics and personal protective equipment to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control in Abuja. Mitai Peng tells us more.
The coronavirus pandemic revealed the vulnerability of the health systems of many countries.
Research shows that China is responsible for 90% of pharmaceutical supplies to the United States and about 70% of global medical and non-pharmaceutical supplies. This makes the pandemic both a public health and economic concern for many countries. Supporting the home front, the Nigerian Association of Pharmacists and Pharmaceutical Scientists in the Americas underscores the need for urgent policies and massive investments in medical and pharmaceutical manufacturing in Nigeria.
To promote indigenous growth and development of products, pharmaceutical products, biological products, chemicals and reagents, so that in situations like this we can be self-sufficient.
Chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, who led the group to donate PPEs to the NCDC, advocated more of such support from the diaspora to defeat coronavirus.
COVID-19 shows that no matter what, home is home. No matter where you go to, this is home. We urge others to do the same thing, and we thank those who have done before you and those who will be doing after you.
A lot of these things are going directly to healthcare workers, clinicians, because we don't use the shields. Our role is to manage it and make sure it gets to the people that will need it.
Items donated by the Nigerian pharmacists in diaspora include thousands of examination gloves, face masks, and sanitizers to mitigate infection rate, especially among frontline health workers. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And the First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has received the donation of personal protective equipment from the First Lady of the People's Republic of China, Professor Peng Liyuan, as part of Chinese support in fighting coronavirus pandemic. The Minister Chancellor of the Chinese Embassy in Nigeria, Zhao Yong, presented the items to the representative of the First Lady and Senior Special Assistant to the President on Administration and Women Affairs, Dr. Hajosani, on behalf of the First Lady of the People's Republic of China. And State House correspondent Aliu Kabir reports on this and other activities of the Nigeria's First Lady.
The donation of personal protective equipment comprising disposable medical masks and infrared thermometers by the First Lady of the People's Republic of China, Professor Peng Liyuan, to the Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, is meant to strengthen the bilateral cooperation in an effort to defeat coronavirus.
Today's donation is a token of friendship towards the Nigerian people, particularly the Nigerian mothers, children, and the young people. China and Nigeria are strategic partners. China will continue to support Nigeria's fight against COVID-19.
The First Lady of China pledged and promised to do everything possible to support African First Lady in their fight against HIV and AIDS. With the emerging issue of COVID-19, she thought it very, very important for her to also look round to her sisters in Africa to extend her support towards their fight against COVID-19. We are most grateful to the First Lady of China.
In a related development, the First Lady, through the Future Assured program, also received the donation of wooden classrooms, desks, chairs, and hospital furniture, as well as cooking utensils, by a patriotic Nigerian known as Adam Nokbako in support to her humanitarian activities at the internally displaced persons camps across the country.
We are happy to see that we still have such people in Nigeria, a Nigerian, typical Nigerian, who is also sharing the same passion with the First Lady of helping the less privileged. And I assured you that these items given to us are going to be best utilized.
The man came to my office without meeting him for the first time and said that he wants me to facilitate the donation of these items to their excellencies as part of his contribution, first to the diversification of the economy, two, to the displaced, internally displaced persons.
It took me 20 years from planting to pruning and then harvesting, bringing equipment, training the workers, then we start producing.
The First Lady remains committed in championing the cause of women and children in Nigeria, urging all stakeholders to follow suit. In Abuja, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
I will take you to Dutse now. It is not their wish to find themselves in their present circumstances, but it is a fact that nobody will outsmart his or her destiny. Have you ever thought of the condition of the inmates of various correctional centers at this period when physical distancing and sanitation are what are needed to stay out of the way of COVID-19? Mohamed Musa Askira visited the more than 100-year-old Dutse Correctional Facility and has the situation report.
Though the challenges associated with COVID-19 pandemic are affecting all and sundry in the country, it is worse with those with restricted freedom, such as inmates held in different correctional facilities across Nigeria. Issue of congestion of inmates has been a serious challenge to the Nigerian government for long, but it is more worrisome now with the emergence of the novel coronavirus disease plaguing the mankind on the planet Earth. The sizes of some of these facilities and the number of inmates in them will not have allowed for the observance of the NCDC protocol for the safety of the inmates. This challenge has made government to come up with strategies to keep the inmates safe from being exposed to the coronavirus pandemic. Some of these strategies include isolating the new inmates, both convicts and awaiting trials, for 2 weeks before they would be allowed to mingle with the existing ones in the facilities.
Nigerian Correctional Service is actually not left on ground. There are so many measures that are being put in place, and all these measures were strongly complied with a view to tell the issue of coronavirus.
And the admission of inmates was not done in an open and forced manner. We create an isolation center for quarantining those new admissions into the centers.
It is in line with the need to support correctional centers to ensure safety of the inmates against the coronavirus pandemic that Jigawa State Command of the Nigerian Correctional Services received a donation of medical packages for onward distribution to custodial centers across the state by Sani Abacha Youth Center from Kano State.
It could be recalled that as part of measures to curtail the possible infection of COVID-19 among inmates across custodial centers in the country, governments at all levels have pardoned, as at May 2020, over 3,751 inmates to reduce the inmate chances of contracting the coronavirus disease. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
It is no longer news that COVID-19 cases in Nigeria are on the increase, but what may come as a surprise is the level of indifference of some Nigerians to this virus. While efforts are being made by government to curb the spread, some individuals have simply disregarded protection guidelines. And Daniel Aderiye investigates the adherence level at some recreational parks and gardens in the FCT.
Now you may be thinking, this is a poorly recorded visual. Well, that's because it is an amateur recording of random individuals gathered at a recreational spot in the FCT with little or no regard for social distancing rules. While these images may be a cause for concern, especially as Nigeria keeps recording an increase in the number of COVID-19 cases, there is the question of whether or not social gatherings at parks, gardens or pubs should even be allowed in the first place.
If you go around, you observe major parks in the city are closed. The other one, which is also a point of clear-cut definition, are those restaurants that are restaurants in the afternoon and metamorphosed into beer parlor in the evening. It has been clearly stated by the PTF under Boss Mustafa and the FCT Minister Malam Mohammed Musa Bello that if you have a restaurant, you don't allow people to eat in. You only operate takeaway services.
To have an insight to people's understanding of the lockdown measures, I took a trip to the streets to sample opinions of Nigerians on the shutdown of some of these recreational businesses and attendant implications.
My advice to government is that like those ones will still remain closed because they attract a large gathering of people. But shutting down the nation is not advisable.
My own advice to club now, may still hold on now. For the waiting government they will do, they will give them law where they will follow. But to open now, it's a risk.
Government say we should use masks. They give us some procedure to use. They open some places where people are moving, things have been moving small now. So, and they say you should sanitize, like using masks. You can see me putting my mask, you sanitize your hands. So I think if they can open everywhere like that, everybody will sanitize.
While most respondents agree that the containment measures is a necessary step to mitigating the spread of the virus, others insist on government balancing the protection of lives and livelihoods as the world awaits the cure to coronavirus. In Abuja, Daniel Aderiye, NTA News.
Considering the economic situation Nigeria and other countries have found themselves due to the global pandemic, the House Committee on National Planning and Economic Development set out on a fact-finding mission to ascertain the level of preparedness of Nigeria's economic policies through the Office of the Minister of State Budget and National Planning in navigating the difficult terrains of bringing the country back to its feet economically. Chimobi Walton Naji reports.
With the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan expected to terminate by December 31st, 2020, and the introduction of a new National Medium and Long-Term Plan, this oversight visit by the House Committee on National Planning and Economic Development became expedient to cross the T's and dot the I's and ensure the plan is truly an inclusive one and will guarantee a sustainable growth. The Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Clem Kanadia Agba, noted that President Muhammadu Buhari approved the new plan to be led by the organized private sector so as to ensure a true national development plan.
We've had plans, but the issue of our plans has been that of implementation. And one of the issues that we've had with the implementation is that those plans had not carried along these various diversities that I've talked about and gotten their inputs. And so if their inputs are not there, it means that there is an issue with acceptability and that of implementation.
The chairman, House of Representatives Committee on National Planning and Economic Development, Olododo Cook Abdulgani Saka, while appraising the ministry, said a more proactive measure need to be put in place, especially with the formulation of next year's budget to focus on key development areas that will spur growth in the real sectors of the economy.
Every administration comes with different plans, Vision 1010, Vision 2020, Vision 3030. Those are effect to our public, to our Nigerians. So these are the areas we want to solve iron out.
It was the consensus of both members of the committee and the ministry that all hands must be on deck to steer the country on the path of sustainable development. In Abuja, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji, NTA News.
Hope was almost dashed for parents and graduating students who were earlier on high spirits to resume school when last week Minister of Education debunked such claim. However, the hope may no longer be lost as the Ministry of Education this week released fresh new guidelines to schools as prerequisite for reopening. Abdullahi Musa Salija takes us through.
The steps that need to be taken for schools and other learning institutions to be safe enough to open. And if they open, what they must do to stay open and how they will proceed with that process.
Countries of the world are opening up after the lockdown to curb the spread of coronavirus pandemic. In Nigeria, the ease of lockdown has continued in phases in education which has been seriously affected by the virus, despite the introduction of e-learning is being considered for resumption.
Sincerely, we were happy and grateful when I heard the announcement by the FG.
I'll make sure as a parent I provide sanitizer for that child so that any slight play you sanitize.
Necessary equipment should be put in place, like the hand sanitizer, the face mask, the running tap.
The schools are opening for students and pupils in primary 6 to write common entrance examinations, GSS 3 and SS 3 transition to next level of education. With the rising cases of the virus, however, there are still concerns on how prepared are the schools, students and parents.
As a parent, I will try to see that I get marks on my own children, and I will ensure that as they are going, I give each one of them marks.
I have faced many challenges for them being at home because I don't know. I'm even eager and seriously want the school to reopen.
So I feel happy that the school is going to resume. Inside the class, we are going to have enough space so that it cannot easily contact the disease.
Although face masks, hand sanitizers are some of the non-pharmaceutical protocols to be observed Investigation by NTA News shows absence of wash hand point in the public schools premises for students, teachers and staff to regularly use to curb the spread of the virus. However, it is a different scenario in this private school.
We put so many things in place, like the washing of hands. Our students and pupils have been doing that ever since. And so to us, it's not a new thing. What is just new to us is the social distancing that we just need to work on.
As the days for resumption announced by some state draw nearer, it is the hope of stakeholders that all that is needed to safeguard pupils and students within the school premises be provided before or on the resumption of schools. Abdullahi Musa Suleja, NTA News.
I love maize or corn, however you prefer to call it, boiled or roasted. And as you are aware, all doors to the importation of maize have now been shut. Our correspondent will tell us the implication of this when we return from this break we are about to take. Please stay with us. Great to have you back. There is a crop that is so special, not only to Nigerians, Africans, but to the entire world. This crop, which is the second world most important grain after wheat, is maize, also known as corn. Nigeria is the largest producer of the commodity in Africa, closely followed by Egypt. With a large cultivation of maize, one cannot help but wonder why government has allowed the importation of the commodity, even as local production far exceeds demands. Now that the doors of importation is locked, correspondent Musa Baba Aliu takes a look at the implications.
Nigeria is currently the largest producer of maize in Africa, producing more than 33 million tons out of the 77 million tons the entire Africa is producing annually. The demand for the commodity as at 2018 was 17 million tons annually. In spite of this, processors of livestock and poultry feed have been importing maize, while the Central Bank of Nigeria provide forex for that purpose. This has been a major concern to maize farmers over the years.
We produced 20 million tons last year, and the actual demand for all the maize processors, maize human consumption is just 80 million tons, which means that we have an excess of over 2 million tons. So we have that capacity.
Katsina State Governor Aminu Bello Masari, sometimes in 2017, raised concerns over reported approval given to some companies to import 50,000 metric tons of maize. Similarly, in 2019, processors tendered a request before the National Biosafety Management Agency seeking approval to import certain tons of genetically modified maize known as GMO for poultry feed.
The permit that they have requested for is not necessarily we grant permit for importation of agricultural products. But once they are genetically modified, somebody must file an application to the agency that we want to import genetically modified organisms.
With local production of maize maintaining a steady increase under the Anchor Growers program, the Central Bank of Nigeria has added the produce to banned lists for importation. The bank, in a notice to maize merchants, says the ban on importation is to further boost local production, stimulate rapid economic recovery, safeguard rural livelihood, as well as to increase jobs.
It is a welcome development as far as our farmers have promised that they committed with the target, with the demand of maize in the country. If they committed with the demand of maize in the country, there's no need to importing maize.
When buying either roasted, cooked, or freshly harvested maize, rest assured that you are buying maize produced by Nigerian farmers, and they are as fresh as rose. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliu, NTA News.
Fertilizer, as the name implies, is an input used to fertilize a crop for greater yield, stimulating local production of this input as well as making it affordable, as some objectives the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative have achieved in Nigeria. In this report, Chika Okorie looks at the pros and cons in fertilizer production and its availability to farmers in Ebonyi State.
Prior to this dispensation, availability of farm inputs constituted a major clog at achieving food security in Nigeria. The gradual depletion of soil nutrients due to population explosion and subsequent continuous cropping further worsened expected outputs of farmers. But today, a fertilizer dealer and farmer, Mrs. Selina Oroke, is one out of many who says the availability of a certified soil manure is a huge incentive to farmers as they no longer lament of poor yield, traceable to scarcity and high cost of fertilizer.
The fertilizer producing here in Ebonyi State is more than other, is good.
I produce rice, yam, cassava, and watermelon.
Through the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, which subsidized the cost of production, Ebonyi State Fertilizer Plant, as the only blending plant in the southeast, churns out 40 metric tons of fertilizer per hour to meet farmers' needs and also mitigate the challenges of adulteration.
Due to the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, that's what makes it affordable to the farmers.
Boasting federal government's efforts at ensuring all year-round availability of fertilizer to achieve food sufficiency remains a goal Ebonyi State government would not trade for a penny. In Abakaliki, Chika Okore, NTA News.
And now to sports. Sports sector eagerly anticipates safe return to non-contact and individual competitions. Ayodeji Makinde tells us more.
Efforts by the federal government to reopen sporting activities in the country are receiving commendation and acceptance by administrators and athletes. The gradual return, which identifies individual and non-contact sports as primary targets, underscores proactive measures by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 to curb the spread of the virus. Notably, golf, archery, tennis, and others, experts say, fall within the range of events which could be further explored in flattening the curve and enhance existing campaigns for preventive measures against the pandemic.
We're only just hoping that we can get back to our feet as quickly as possible, but the effect has really been bad.
Already, the Sports Code Protocol presented to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and the National Assembly offers a glimmer of hope with strict and stipulated guidelines.
We should all embrace this move and patiently also wait for the right time for us to resume. And I'm sure the National Assembly and the Presidential Committee on COVID-19, are critically looking at these issues.
Although COVID-19 has caused massive readjustments to the calendar of major sporting activities, the need to stay safe and alive remains paramount for any future glory in the sector. The National Sports Festival and many more tournaments are captured in the sphere of feasibility by the end of the year.
Nigeria also should be able to join the rest of the world in returning back to our sporting activities as soon as practicable.
The gradual ease of lockdown by the federal government has brought about a gradual return to normalcy of the lifestyle of many Nigerians. For sportsmen and women in the country, they can breathe a sigh of relief that sporting activities will soon return, but that will be in strict compliance with the guidelines of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. In Abuja, I'm Ayodeji Makinde, NTA News.
It is a sad day for the nation, especially the military, having lost the first female combat helicopter pilot, flying officer. Tolulokwe Arotile, defense correspondent Najati Tijani reports.
Barely months after getting her wings, 23-year-old flying officer Tolulokwe Arotile, in a twist of fate, lost her life in a road accident. A statement released by the Office of the Director of Public Relations and Information, Nigerian Air Force, described the service of late Arotile, who was commissioned into the Nigerian Air Force in 2017, as short but impactful, having contributed to ongoing efforts at ridding the north-central states of banditry and other crimes by flying several combat missions under Operation Gamma Aiki in Minna, Niger State.
Amazing. Being in the air is fun. It's nothing like the ground, and I like it because it's a fun career, and I'll just never get bored.
While paying tribute to Nigeria's first female combat helicopter pilot, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, commiserated with her family and the nation over the irreparable loss. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has received with deep pain the sudden demise of Nigeria's first female combat helicopter pilot, flying officer Tolulokpe Arutile. He describes the deceased as a promising officer whose short stay on earth impacted greatly on the nation, especially in peace and security. The president salutes the officer's bravery in the field to protect the country from the onslaughts of bandits and terrorists, saying her memory will remain indelible in the minds of Nigerians. He recalled her deft skills in maneuvering combat helicopters, which he personally witnessed with pride. The Nigerian leader commiserates with Arotile's family, Nigerian Air Force, the government and people of Kogi State on the loss and prayed for God to receive the soul of the departed and comfort those left behind. And similarly, the First Lady, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, has extended her condolences to the nation and the family of late flying officer Tolulokpe Arutile. Mrs. Buhari described the deceased as a worthy role model to Nigerian girls that nothing is unachievable through hard work and dedication to duty. The First Lady, in her statement, said Arutile had huge potentials to greatly advance in her profession and condoled her family over the loss. And the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, has, on behalf of the Federal Executive Council, expressed condolences to President Muhammadu Buhari over the death of flying officer Tolulokpe Arutile. The SGF also commiserated with the government and people of Kogi State, especially Jumu local government area, where the deceased hailed from. Mr. Boss Mustafa described flying officer Tolulokpe as a promising and dedicated officer who contributed immensely to fight against armed bandits and kidnappers in the north-central state. The SGF said she will be missed by all. SGF mourns Arutile. The SGF also commiserated with the government and people of Kogi State, especially the Jumu local government area where the deceased, like I said earlier, hailed from. Now, Nigerians have continued to pay tribute to the nation's first female combat helicopter pilot who died on the 14th of July in an auto incident. Correspondent Naja'atu Tijani reports.
In a statement, the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, described the death of Arutile as the exit of the finest and best national manpower asset. In his tribute, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, described the pilot as one of the shining young stars of the Nigerian Air Force who would be greatly missed for her service. The APC United Kingdom sent a message via Twitter saying it was with deep regret that they heard of the death of the young pilot. In his tribute via his Twitter handle, President of the Senate Ahmed Lawan, while condoling her family, described Arutile as a role model for Nigerian youths in general. Speaker of the House of Representatives also sent a message via Twitter saying he had seen her some months ago and was indeed grieving for her loss. Similarly, Minister of Women Affairs Dame Pauline Talon described Arutile as an impressive, determined young woman who would be greatly missed. Senator Sheikh Hussaini said Tolulokpe Arutile was a shining star who broke barriers. Meanwhile, one Twitter user sent a message saying, "Thank you for your service, Flying Officer Tolulokpe. You will be greatly missed." The Twitter user says the Nigerian military and the nation salute the pilot, described as the slayer of bandits and terrorists. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
She will sure be missed and prayed for. Now we have a message. with that, we conclude News Extra for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am Fatima Umar Buba. Please stay safe.